Quanel, the worst type of district attorney is the one that bends to political winds, the one that listens to polls and voices and decides how they're going to run their administration as a result. Alvin Bragg, the district attorney in Manhattan, began his tenure with a day one memo where he said, hey, we're going to take any robbery that's not a gun robbery and just prosecute it as theft. And every case is going to be presumed to be a probation case unless you write a memo to show me otherwise, including murder. That memo was leaked. People were so upset that he dialed back some of his policies, but the truth is he is an incredibly pro-crime district attorney. Now, last week, a video went viral of some migrants that had a group of migrants that beat 2 police officers just senseless in Times Square. It was horrifying. It turns out those migrants are involved in some sort of organized crime gang that steals cell phones and then uses the data on that cell phones to buy things in their homeland. In yesteryear, migrants were some of the most law-abiding people in this country. Now, because the Biden administration has these fully open borders that they claim are not open, instead of people striving to have a better life, people are coming to this country to commit crime. And in fact, there was a interview on CNN that was talking about that illegal immigrants that lived in Florida were actually going to New York City to commit crime and then going back to Florida with the spoils of that crime. And the question is why? Well, the answer is that thieves go to jail. Thieves go to prison in Florida. And in Manhattan, they do not. Now, last week, Alvin Bragg said there wasn't enough evidence. We couldn't hold them and let these migrants go, and then they fled the city. They're gone. Now, this week, the public uproar is so significant, he has now convened a grand jury. He's gotten with Mayor Adams, and they are no relation, and they are getting together, and we're going to go after every single one of them. Oh, there's organized crime involved. Oh, we're going to do this and that. But this is a DA that didn't care last week, didn't make any effort to keep him. Attacking police officers wasn't a big deal to him. It's only a big deal because it's getting attention. And the truth is, we need district attorneys that do not listen to politics. They don't listen to polls. They listen to their oath and their obligation. And that's what we need, and that's not what the citizens of Manhattan have. I do think that's what we have here in our city. And of course, that DA is taking a lot of flack for refusing to bend her knee to the Democratic Party and prosecute criminals in the Democratic Party. I think it's pretty interesting. And I think we'll have a new DA because of it. And I think that, well, that raises real questions about the process.
What's happening in New York is a direct result of Texas, because Governor Abbott has been busing those illegal migrants to New York because they're, quote unquote, a sanctuary city.
Oh, you'd rather have it here?
No, that's not what I'm saying. But I would rather not see Mayor Adams solely blamed for the migrant problem in New York because he was labeled and called a sanctuary city, strictly because of what Governor Abbott has done to infect New York with an overload of thousands of migrants that they were not prepared or ready to deal with. I watched the video of those several migrants, maybe 4 or 5 of them, I can really tell an actual number, that beat the 2 cops, was in a fight with the 2 cops. But what shocked everybody, including the governor of New York, even she said, get rid of them, prosecute them all. Only because when they were being released, they came out and put up the FU fingers to the media. And that was so shocking and appalling to where people all over New York started demanding, and there was an outcry, something must be done. And they were blaming the DA for not filing more serious charges, for releasing them on a free bail system they quote unquote have in New York. But I remember, and I've always seen in Texas and around the country, if you beat up some cops, it was always aggravated assault of a peace officer or attack on a police officer, something like that. It's more serious charges. But the only reason now you have political outcry about it and public outcry is because when they came out from being released in custody, they put up the FU fingers. Texas is a direct result of that problem for sending so many thousands to New York who never should have been sent in the first place. I believe we should have put those migrants on a bus and bus them back across the border from where they came, not to New York City. We have a border problem, yes, but Trump promised to fix it. He didn't do it. Biden, his actions have been like, maybe I will say I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to do anything seriously to make it happen. And I solely believe because the Democratic leaders want to make those new influx of migrants, this is my opinion, that they want to take those new influx of migrants and make them the new Democratic voters. Why? To impregnate in their minds that you were let cross the border and not prosecuted and given gift bags by a Democratic administration. So you reward that administration and the Democratic Party when you become the new voters in America, and they want to turn legislation around to make it easier for those migrants at some point soon to start voting. Why? Because a large number of African Americans are leaving the Democratic Party, especially African American men. There's TikTok videos and YouTube videos all over the place where black men from all across the country are saying, we're going to support Trump. We're going to vote for Trump. They can't stand the Biden administration. Now you have a lot of black folks, you brought it up earlier, who feels angry with Democrats because of the border problem, that these resources that was allocated, supposedly allocated to black people, are now going to the migrants. There was one that went viral last week of an African-American gentleman who went to a recreation center where his children, on the East Coast, where his children normally go to play, it's been shut down completely and was being guarded by NYPD police officers and not letting anyone from the community come into the center because it was now housing migrants, and he cussed them all out, and that video went viral.
Initially, that video you're talking about wasn't in the city of New York, it was in the Massachusetts. And we've seen that a number of times. In New York, they were turning schools into migrant facilities and making students go back to COVID-era home learning, which of course was horrible for the psyche and the education of young Americans. But of course, they don't seem to matter. Now, what you're talking about is the replacement theory, but of course there have been some documents leaked from some Democrat think tanks where they clearly recognize that fast-tracking asylees to citizenship will allow them to maintain a stranglehold on national politics and local politics. Now, you know,
so it's not a conspiracy theory. These are highly placed Democrats that were suggesting this.
But every time someone says that, right, they're shouted down as being conspiracy theorists, as being radical right-wing Republicans. I did find it interesting that you begin by blaming Biden. Biden has sent, you know, maybe 10 to 15,000 migrants on buses to New York City, which is about a tenth of what Texas gets.
You mean Abbott?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Abbott. So you were complaining about, so you should have been complaining about Biden. That's why I said Biden. You're talking about Abbott, and you're saying, oh, this is Abbott's fault for sending these bad migrants up to New York City, and they should have still been here in Texas committing crime here in Houston. Maybe you would like that. But the truth is that what Abbott has done is over the period of about a year, he's changed the conversation about illegal entry into this country completely. You used to be a big banner flyer.
For those coming from Mexico.
No one's illegal on stolen land.
Coming from Mexico, yes.
Well, so what's the difference between Mexico or Honduras or El Salvador or
Guatemala
no. or Africa or China?
No, that's a huge difference.
Why? What's the difference?
Because Mexico had a legitimate claim to Texas, Arizona, and California.
Okay.
They owned that. It was stolen from them.
Okay,
not Hondurans, not El Salvadorians, not Nicaraguans, not Panamanians. But what you see across the border now, I've never seen such things. Charles, in my lifetime, I never seen large numbers of African brothers and sisters crossing the southern border. Right. I had never seen nothing like that. The first time I actually knew that it was happening is when they had the Haitian issue with the officer on the horse allegedly beating some Haitian immigrants.
He didn't beat anyone. It was all a lie.
That was the first time I even knew that black folk were crossing the southern border. Now I've seen videos on TikTok and on X, formerly Twitter, where they're not just coming from Africa. They come from Africa, the Middle East, Asia,
right,
by the thousands.
And we don't have any idea who they are.
Because the word has went out that the place to cross into America is the southern border.
Well, but see, here's my point, though. Okay, first of all, Biden put the word out at the beginning of his administration, but you're sitting here blaming Abbott, right? And all Abbott did was change the conversation.
For the New York problem.
Well, it's not Abbott's fault, the New York problem. It's Biden's fault, right? So what Abbott's done is said, hey, Texas shouldn't have to deal with this all on their own. Well, let's change the conversation. Let's send some people elsewhere. And I'm no
Why didn't bust Oklahoma?
Well, because Oklahoma agrees with...
It's a Republican state.
Because Oklahoma agrees with Abbott about closing the border.
So he purposely attacked somebody who disagreed with him.
He's not attacking. Oh, so immigrants are attackers now?
No, Abbott is.
Okay.
Abbott attacked New York with busting those migrants like that.
Oh, so migrants,
knowing they financially could not withstand that.
Migrants are evil criminals?
Abbott is.
Okay. I have all
what
kinds
Abbott
of
did
issues
was evil
with Abbott and Paxton and a number of problems. But on this immigration issue, I do not disagree with him. And the truth is, what he did is he sent migrants to sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, right? And the problem, the one who's to blame, is the Biden administration. The Biden administration immediately took and sold the building materials for Trump's wall for 3 cents on the dollar. Now, guess what he's doing? Biden's rebuying those same building materials at full price for us American taxpayers to build a wall that he said he wasn't going to build. And when Trump was talking about a wall, everyone on the legacy media was going, "Oh, you evil xenophobe." And everyone was bending the knee. Now that Biden's talking about changing policies, no one's calling him xenophobic, right? So, well, Biden, I mean, it's a problem. And you even sit here and, well, you know, that was Mexicans, and really, but Guatemalans and Hondurans and Africans
have no
and
claim
all
on Texas,
different.
Arizona, and California.
The truth is, right, that we have to have a secured border. The truth is, neither party wants to fix illegal immigration because the oligarchs, the very rich, want market participants and they want cheap labor.
Must have it to compete with China's economy.
And we are in a nation where people aren't having kids as
so
often
neither
anymore.
party wants to really solve that problem.
Well, but the Republicans at least want to use it as a cudgel issue, true? And they
for the purpose of an upcoming election.
No, but Trump did everything he could to secure the border, and everything he did was shot down by, what do you call those? Oh, those are Democrats.
So let me ask you a question.
Because
when Trump first won,
voters care about public safety.
But when Trump first won, he had the House and the Senate.
Right, and he.
So why did they solve the problem?
Well, because he allocated and started building a wall and started funding. He did solve the problem.
It wasn't solved. The wall was never built.
Entry.
He said
during
Mexico
the Obama
would pay for it.
administration was here.
Did Mexico pay for
it? That was just campaign rhetoric, and of course Trump's a liar. But so we had illegal immigration at the highest levels of all time during the Obama administration, right? And then Trump administration, boom, it goes way down here. And then during the Biden administration, before he even takes office, he's like, I'm not going to deport anyone we're going to have a sanctuary. And then it skyrockets to unprecedented untold numbers. And who suffered the worst? Well, people that want to lawfully enter this country. Well, those people are suffering because the conversation in America demonizes migrants. Who else is suffering, right? Is Americans that depend on entitlement programs. Now the problem has gotten so bad, and so you talk about, oh, it's so bad in New York, oh, it's so bad in Boston. If you look at the Rio Grande Valley, if you look at El Paso, if you look at how their systems, their public schools, their social
Rio Grande Valley
are absolutely overwhelmed. And
those cities have historically Latino populations.
Right, but they still
those historically
Latino
Mexican populated cities.
So just because they're Latino Americans, they shouldn't
because
have good
they
schools
historically
and good
belong
programs?
to the Mexicans.
No, they're
That's why they're historically Mexican cities.
Wait, are you saying American citizens, just because they're of Mexican heritage, don't deserve to have entitlement programs?
That's not what I'm saying.
That's exactly what you're
I'm saying that we must be careful with all entitlement programs because I saw the damage of what entitlement programs did to the black community.
I get it.
And then remember, sometimes their friends, political friends, benefit from those entitlement programs, not the people.
Okay. But the truth is there are programs like after-school programs that have been decimated in the Rio Grande Valley by the tidal wave of illegal entry, and now they're starting to get decimated in New York and Massachusetts and other far left
But they don't have to be because of immigrants. Charles?
Okay, here's the thing.
We can take care of after-school daycare, Charles. We can take care of daycare in this country for all parents, Charles, or give a great subsidy to them to where it's not breaking the bank to pay for it.
They're required to balance their budget, which all governments should be, right? And they have had to cancel 5 police academy classes. They have
because of Abbott.
They have because of Biden.
Abbott busing those migrants.
Because of
Biden. Abbott.
Okay, but why did Abbott do it? Because
to send a message to the sanctuary cities and to President Biden.
Because he wants help on the border. And instead he's getting the opposite. He's getting a federal government that is down there refusing to let them close the border.
So you say Abbott won't help.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez can go back from New York and cry at the border a bit more because families are separated.
But the Republicans don't want the help from the Biden administration, Charles. Abbott really don't want it. Because they're afraid that if he gives legitimate help that solves the problem, that he will get the credit for fixing the border problem and help him get reelected. That's why Trump didn't want to give no help.
You don't think Abbott is trying to shut the border?
I believe he is.
Oh,
But I believe the Republican Party does not want to accept anything coming from Biden right now
And so you think
that will give him the credit for fixing the
tidal
border
wave
problem that would help him get reelected.
Radical Islamists, of narco-terrorists, and all these evil people that are mixed in with the people that are just grasping at a better life, right? Because that's the immigrants we want, right? We want vetted immigrants that want to come to America and work. And of course, there are horrible study numbers are coming out recently. It's hard to find the numbers, right? Because academia is in the pocket of the left too. But that households led by an illegal entrant are, it's more north of 60% of them are on some sort of welfare program, right? Whereas for American citizens, I think it's around 33%. We have horrible numbers of helping Americans, right?
And you don't think the Biden administration knows that?
You get more money if you come into this country illegally and jump on a bus to New York. You get more money from the city of New York than if your house burnt down in the Honolulu fire.
But why, Charles?
Because the left has decided they care more about immigrants than they do care about American citizens.
Charles?
I'm asking you. Because you were all for it until
let me state this
15 minutes ago.
Let me state this. No. Because the quote-unquote left, I've always been for Mexicans. I've always been to allow Mexicans to come back to Texas, California, Arizona. Always. They belong to them or stole from them. But why do you think one particular party, Charles, is willing to give migrants more help than their own citizens? But wait a minute, Charles. They're not busing those migrants and sending those migrants to affluent suburban communities. They're putting them in poor areas.
Let me ask you a question.
So why are they rewarding them, Charles, and punishing the people who historically have lived in those poor areas? Why?
None of those people are alive. You pretend that, like...
No, you miss what I'm saying, Charles.
Hold on. No, let me ask you a question. Okay, so you think that all of Mexico has claim to New York...
Texas, Arizona, and California.
Because of history.
Yes, right? It was stolen from them.
But you don't think Israel has a right to Israel.
What do you mean?
Well, okay. I know history's tough.
Explain that, please.
Okay. Well, there was this guy Hadrian, right? Mm-hmm. And Hadrian forced all of the Jews out of what was called Israel, what is now Israel. Forced them all out.
But those were not white Jews.
Because they were, well,
those were black people.
Again, no,
they were black people. Do your history. Do your research.
I know.
Those were black Jews forced out. Not the European, not the Europeans who immigrated to Israel.
So how much?
It was black Jews.
Okay, you're talking about
these were dark-skinned Jews.
No, they were Mizrahi Jews. I know you're an anti-Semite.
No, these were Falasha Jews.
Okay, no,
these were the Semitic Jews. Okay, yeah. The original Semitic Jews and Falashas are black Jews, Charles. They're not white.
The largest ethnic population in Israel today, right? But but you pretend that's not true because the truth doesn't matter.
And they migrated to what you call Israel from Europe.
No, I'm talking about the Mizrahi Jews that are the original Jews from right there in the original Israel.
And they're not white, Charles.
Okay, again. The largest ethnic group of Israel is the Mizrahi Jews. I know you don't like facts because you sit here and lie to this camera all the time.
No, but keep going. Let's go.
Okay, so Hadrian forced all of the Jews out of Israel. Forced them all out, right? Forced them into the wind, right? All over the world other than in Israel, right? And then Israel became the precursor to Palestine, right? And then Israelis came back to this desert and in the 20s and continued to grow, especially during, and of course there were Jewish people all over the Middle East, less than 100 years ago.
Living in peace in Palestine.
Oh, no. See,
living in peace in Palestine with their neighbors.
Oh, so
because the original Jews of that area are cousins to the Palestinians. They're all family.
Why are there less than 2,000 Jews in the rest of the Islamist world? I wonder.
That's not true either.
Where are all the Christians?
That's not true either. That is not true either.
Oh, wait.
In Qatar. In Qatar, wait a minute. In Qatar, there are over 4,000 Jews who live in Qatar in peace.
Okay.
In Qatar.
Qatar is incredibly safe because they have a despot that doesn't allow people to attack. But
so stop pretending, Charles.
No. There are
in Kuwait.
Okay.
There are thousands of Jews who live in Kuwait.
If you're going to sit here,
peace.
If you're going to sit here and pretend that Jews can live in peace in the Middle East outside of Israel right now, then you have just abandoned.
I'm not pretending.
Yes, you are.
In Dubai, in Qatar, in Kuwait, they're living in peace.
Can they practice their faith in those countries?
They're practicing their faith in those countries. Yes. Yes, they are.
You don't care about the truth.
You are wrong.
The Christians
in Dubai,
and the Jews
in Qatar,
have been run out of the rest of the Islamist world because
Let me ask you a question,
the
Charles.
Islamist world is intolerant to religious freedom.
That's not true, Charles.
Oh, really?
That's not true, Charles.
Oh, the Islamist world
there would be no Islam.
Hey, practice your
there
religion.
Would be no Islam
This is
if
my
it was not for a Christian king. If it was not for a Christian king, there would be no Islam. And Prophet Muhammad and the first followers of Islam would have been murdered if it was not for a Christian king,
and
Charles.
Your little message about, Mexico should take these 3 states back, it applies to everyone but the Jews because you hate the Jews. You hate the Jews
you're wrong,
much
Charles. I hate
you,
injustice.
And Jews and
hate
gays.
Evil, no matter what the race is.
So it goes injustice,
no matter
Jews,
what the race
gays.
is.
That's your hatred
I don't hate
spectrum.
anybody based on their sexual orientation or their sexual preference. What I hate is injustice, Charles.
Jews,
and
gays,
what I hate is wickedness, Charles.
Right? That's your hatred matrix.
Charles, I don't hate skin color.
You talk about white people all the time.
That means I hate them?
You talk negatively
I talk about black folks.
No,
I talk about black folks.
No, you don't.
All the time.
No, you don't.
I'm not anti-black.
Right, okay. Now, you know what? You are anti anyone but you and
That's
your pocketbook.
not true.
But the truth is, this
That's
is a
not
myth,
true.
right?
Charles,
we need a secured border.
I'm
and the fact that people are Latino
and
in the
I'm
Rio Grande
anti-evil.
Valley doesn't mean they don't deserve good schools and entitlement programs, right? They're the ones suffering the most,
Charles,
right?
the border problem is not going to be fixed,
What we need to have is a lawful
Charles.
Immigration policy that
We have
allows
one.
people. Oh, we do?
Just not being enforced.
Okay, no. We have a draconian system that does not allow anyone but the super wealthy to come in lawfully, right? To incentivize people
who can buy citizenship.
But in the past, and here's the big thing with the Democrats did wrong, in the past, people would enter unlawfully, and illegal entrants were typically, for many years, the most law-abiding. They were incredibly law-abiding. Why? Because if you broke the law while you're here illegally, you got deported. Right, and then the Democrats decided, hey, we're going to make all these sanctuary cities, and we don't care what crimes you commit, and we don't care if you come here. Democrats do it,
but why?
Because they don't care about their current constituents, and they see new type of constituent. Oh, they do?
You're right in. Your end part was right.
I'm always right. That's your
they
problem.
See a new
That's why you lie
constituent.
so much, because I'm
what
always
I said
right.
earlier, and what I've said in this whole debate, they see a new constituent and a new voter for them.
Okay, and guess who's become unimportant? The assumed
Us.
black vote.
Us.
The assumed poor white vote.
Why did they do it?
The assumed poor Latin American vote.
Charles, they see the diminishing black male vote in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And it's been happening since
it's not really happening.
Charles, it's happening.
No, some rich
Charles,
celebrity African American figures.
Charles,
you know who voted?
Go on TikTok.
You know who came up?
Go on TikTok.
You know what? I read statistics and
go on Twitter,
you
Charles.
can go to TikTok and Twitter.
You see black men from all walks of life.
Some actual research.
All walks of life.
But the truth
who are
is
saying something
that
different
in the
now.
last election and the election before, you didn't see a tidal wave of black America walk away from the Democratic Party.
I never said a tidal wave,
And you
Charles.
didn't see a tidal wave of Latin Americans, but you did see unbelievable numbers of Latin Americans support Donald Trump.
An increasing rise.
Because Latin Americans believe in public safety. The Latin American community has a larger appetite for public safety, for religious conservatism.
And we don't?
No, I'm talking about in
black
voting
folk don't?
difference. In voting, if you talk about voting
That's
paradigms,
not true, Charles.
Right? I mean, let's look at.
That's not true, Charles.
Let's look at.
Here's the problem. Majority of the African American political leaders have been owned by a certain political party.
Okay.
And so what they do, they push the party's platform over the people's platform. And so it is the leadership problem among us with politics in the black community. In the Latino community, you've always had a number of them who were positioned in the Republican Party, especially those who, quote unquote, had higher education. We don't have that. And so that's why our politicians have been in line with the party over the people.
What are you saying? Black people don't have higher education?
That's not what I said.
That's
I said we don't have most of our higher educated brothers and sisters as a part of the Republican Party, like Hispanics do. We don't.
When African Americans join the Republican Party, you call them horrible names.
I didn't say that.
You have done it
No, I did not.
I
spoke about two.
Tim Scott 2 weeks ago.
Oh, Chicken George.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What have you called every
Chicken
black
George,
Republican
Uncle
we've talked
Tom,
about?
Uncle Ruckus, one of the worst sellouts in black folk human history.
Tell me an African American Republican political candidate
that I admired
that you haven't called ugly names.
Colin Powell.
He didn't. He wasn't a politician.
Hold on. Stop.
He didn't run for office.
Let me finish.
Again,
Let me
not a
finish.
politician. You were just
He was
lying.
a Republican.
Can
I finish?
He
I'll
wasn't
name
a
some.
politician.
I will name some.
I'll wait.
Colin Powell,
Not a politician.
Dr. Ben Carson,
Okay.
highly intelligent brother,
Again.
and he wasn't no sellout.
Did he
Not-
run for
not,
office?
Not at all.
When did he run for
Wait
office?
a minute.
So
Wait a
two
minute.
that weren't politicians.
Wait a minute.
You're 0 for 2.
Wait a minute. No. I'm not 0 for 2.
Yes, you are. Neither of them are politicians.
I'm going to tell you somebody
They're
else.
public
that
servants, but
we
they're not
didn't like,
politicians.
That we did not like, and we were fooled not to like them because they were quote unquote Republican. But that was a very highly intelligent Republican official, elected official, who was black, who was not a sellout. And then he wound up being pushed into a corner to disassociate himself with the mainstream of black community who was still
Looking
voting
forward
Democratic.
to this name.
Now,
Who?
I want to congratulate our dear brother for being a highly intelligent gentleman and being a Republican. We love you still, brother, and we still want you to come back home and be with us because you're still one of our brightest. J.C. Watts.
Okay. And what did J.C. Watts run for?
I just broke you real quick.
What did he
didn't I?
run for?
You just got whooped.
What did he run
You
for?
just got whooped. He was a congressman. You just got whooped.
So
Congressman J.C. Watts out of Oklahoma. You just got whooped.
And you
just got spanked.
No.
I spanked you.
Okay.
And you thought I wasn't going to be able to do it, didn't you?
It took you a while to come up with the
Because I
name.
warmed you up. I got you
is-
good
the
and
truth
cured.
is- So
I
tell
got
me.
the temperature
So
going
you
low
ne-
to
you
turn
ne-
it up.
You've never
That was
called-
intelligent,
you've never-
brother, man.
Okay, first of all,
A
you know,
very
you-
good
you
brother.
You sound a lot like Joe Biden, right? Remember when Joe Biden
Stop
and,
that,
and
man. Joe
Obama were
Biden.
running against each other?
Stop that,
and
man.
he called.
That man's a racist.
He
Biden is a
He is a
racist.
racist. And you don't have to call black men highly intelligent, right? Because men are highly intelligent,
I can speak
irrespective
that.
of their right. But what you typically do is anytime a black Republican male gets popular, you start calling him those ugly words that you were calling
Like
all
talking
the
about
other
Tim
ones.
Scott?
Okay, like any
Those were
number of them.
truthful words.
Yeah, every time
Did
we
you see
talked
him?
about a black
Did you
Republican,
see what he did?
You have called him.
Did you see
ugly
what he
names,
did?
Right?
Did you see what
but
he did?
The truth is,
You like
don't
what he
want
did?
Ideological.
You like what he did?
When he's sucking up to Trump.
When Trump did this, he turned around and looked at him and said, she appointed you, Tim.
The truth is,
you must
don't
really
want
hate
ideological
Nikki.
diversity. You don't.
And
want
what he do? He
anything.
went, no, I don't hate her. I just love you.
You know what he's done for this
I could have
country?
took off my belt and
Yeah,
whooped his behind.
you know,
Negro, get off that stage buck dancing.
Tim Scott has done a lot more for this country than you would ever think about doing.
Oh, my God.
I'm not a
now
huge
you go.
fan,
now you smoking
and
the
I'm
peace
not a
pipe.
Republican.
Lord have
but
mercy.
What you do is you like
Let's
to call
move on,
everyone
brother.
racist names except
Let's
yourself,
move on.
right?
Tim
And you
Scott
don't
is
have
worse
to
than
call-
Clarence Thomas.
Okay.